Hey everybody, it's Dan the ToughSkin Man. You see this? That's a skylight. You see all these? That's a lot of skylights, and you know what skylights love to do? They love to leak. So I'm here today to show you how to use ToughSkin SuperClear to stop leaks in skylights. So stick around, because you're going to learn something. So on today's show, we're going to get up close and personal with skylights. I'm going to show you how they're manufactured and the parts that make up a skylight. And I'm going to take the trusty Sawzall out, my favorite tool. We're going to slice one of these skylights in half and show you the guts and exactly why a skylight leaks soon after install, how you can use ToughSkin SuperClear spray to stop the leak in the skylight. So let's take a look at the parts of a skylight now. All right, so let's take a closer look at a domed acrylic skylight. You can see the doming effect here, and that's for a few reasons. The rainwater can come out of the sky, hit the dome, and roll over the frame. But not only that, when you dome acrylic plastic, it makes it much stronger because you also have snow loads in the wintertime that can sit on top of these skylights, so they need to be pretty strong. Now the reason why they have two domes is it's something called making a thermal break. It's the same concept as a modern window. So what it does is it creates a space, a difference between the outside cold air, especially in the wintertime, and the inside warm air. If you only had one pane, then you'd have extreme cold out here and nice warm air on the inside, and you would get extreme condensation on the underside of the dome. Having two domes stops or slows down condensation. Even in the best skylights can condensate if you have high levels of humidity in your house and really cold on the outside. Happens in the wintertime even to the best skylights. This is what brings us to the next part, is this white line underneath the domes is called the condensation gutter. Right? The water underneath the skylight, the condensation flows down the dome and gets into the condensation gutter. Let me see if you can see the hole that it drains out of. It's a little hole right there. And what it does is it comes along the condensation gutter, gets in this hole, and then runs under the next part that I'll show you, which is the retainer ring. The retainer ring holds the skylight domes onto the next part, which is the frame, all right? Retainer ring, frame, and then you have the curb. The curb brings the skylight high off of the roof surface. The reason why you want that is if you ever get a drain backup or high snow levels and then it melts into slush, if you had this right down onto the roof and you got a water level up high, or if it got higher in the skylight, it could go underneath and force its way into the house. That's why the curb raises the skylight off of the roof. And it's the same reason why they have a curb on a shingle roof too. Even when it's sloped, the water's running around it, they raise it off a curb. But especially on flat roofs, you have the high curbs with skylights. Now this house has 35 skylights. So there's a lot of skylights to waterproof. All right, so next step, let's get the Sawzall out. Let's cut one of these in half and I'll show you the guts of a skylight. It's Sawzall time! This is one of my favorite tools. You know why? You can cut wood, you can cut metal, you can cut plastic. Hey, you take my parking spot and I'll cut your car in half. It might take me a day or so, but I'll get it done and you'll never take my parking spot again. You ready? Let's cut this skylight in half. All right, here is the cross-cut view of a skylight. You have the two acrylic domes. They come down underneath the retainer ring, and here's that condensation gutter I was talking about. But here's where the problem lies. It's the sealant tape between the two domes that wears out prematurely. Either right after manufacture, upon delivery, you can get this dome can be twisted by the roofers putting it up on the roof, or even the delivery guys. That happens a lot, and then if you twist this too much, that sealant tape will unseat and then you'll get a leak very quickly. That happens if you install a skylight and it leaks within a month or two. That's because the sealant tape got twisted and the water can get through. Now, skylights usually they're 8 to 10 years old that start leaking. That's because the sealant tape is worn out. Because if you see how the water runs, it runs down the dome, it tries to get underneath the retainer ring, it's stopped by the sealant tape, so then it runs over top of the retainer ring. Now, when the sealant tape wears out, the sealant tape really only lasts, say, 10 years kind of maximum. Some people can get 15 years out of a skylight and it starts to leak. But that doesn't mean the other parts other than the sealant tape are in bad condition. I mean, the acrylic domes can be in good condition, the retainer ring, the inner condensation gutter, everything that holds it together can be in good shape. But if the sealant tape wears out, the water comes down, gets underneath the retainer ring, and then fills this cavity here, and then pressurizes, comes between the two domes or underneath the bottom dome, gets into the condensation gutter, and then the water comes into the building. Now, there's another way it can come in. It comes underneath the retainer ring, fills the cavity, and then gets in behind the curb or behind the roofing materials that are up against the curb, goes in under the roofing materials, and then leaks in around the skylight. So there's two possible ways it can leak: directly into the building, out of the condensation gutter, or behind the roofing materials on the curb. And that's the two general ways that a skylight can leak. So let's take a look at how you fix that problem. So you only need two items to make skylights waterproof: masking tape, like painters use, and SuperClear. So let's mask off this skylight now, and then we'll get on to using SuperClear. All right, so we're going to mask off the skylight. So where the retainer ring is, you want about, say, half of an inch away from the retainer ring to be able to spray to, because you want to get the spray attached to the acrylic dome about a half an inch away from the retainer ring, so it can then roll under the retainer ring and waterproof between the ring and the acrylic dome. So I won't bore you with the masking tape. I'll get this done and we'll come back to when we're spraying the SuperClear. All right, so I've used painter's tape, masking tape, and I've masked off the entire skylight, but I've left about a half an inch right here of the clear acrylic between the masking tape and the retainer ring. And you need that half an inch so you get good adhesion with the SuperClear. Now, I've masked off the entire dome because it's a little windy today. You don't have to use a lot of masking tape. I would say 2 rows of masking tape will be fine, because you're going to be spraying in this direction, but it's windy today. So I mask the entire dome off. Now, if you don't mask the entire dome off and you get overspray of SuperClear on it, you can use our Max Muscle. It's designed to remove SuperClear from surfaces. So if you don't mask the whole thing off and you do get some overspray, I mean, it's clear, but it's good to get it off. So you can use Max Muscle to remove it if there's overspray, but I've just masked the entire skylight because it's a little windy today. So I want to talk to you before I start spraying about electrostatic and mechanical adhesion properties of SuperClear. Well, let's do that now. So I'll take a second and I'll explain why SuperClear works so well waterproofing skylight domes. A lot of people use silicone. The reason being is that there are no other products on the market specifically designed to stick to skylight domes and retainer rings. So people use silicone caulkings to do that. The problem with a silicone caulking is because it's not a liquid. It's a higher viscosity than actual liquid sprays. It's a caulking. When you have a higher viscosity, it does two things. It doesn't get under the retainer ring far enough to actually waterproof a good mechanical bond between the retainer ring and the acrylic dome. Plus, it doesn't spread out like a liquid does and create a good electrostatic adhesion area between the dome and the retainer ring. That's why when you people that have skylights usually get upset. They say they always leak. I silicone them, it lasts a year, and then the silicone pulls off. The reason it does that is water hits the dome, it rolls down the dome, it's trying to get anywhere in the silicone. So if the silicone is not sticking to the dome absolutely perfectly, which it never really does, it gets under that little bit, it gets between the retainer ring and the dome, underneath the silicone, it freezes and expands 9% and blows the silicone off in sections, and then more water gets in, and that pattern just keeps going until all the silicone is falling off within a year. It's because it's not adhering to the acrylic and to the retainer ring very well. Now we've engineered SuperClear to even stick to Teflon, to super low energy surfaces. Even a surface that's low energy like a skylight has much more electrostatic energy in it to adhere to than Teflon. So if it can stick to Teflon, it can stick to skylights. So you want to have that half-inch gap between the masking tape and the retainer ring to get a good bite on the acrylic so it can adhere to the acrylic, and then when the water runs down, it can't get underneath the SuperClear, so it has to roll over the retainer ring. So that's the explanation with SuperClear. That's why it works so well. It's a liquid, not a caulking, and that is the reason why it can sneak underneath the retainer ring and then create such a good waterproofing gasket between the dome and the retainer ring. Well, we're going to start spraying SuperClear around the edge of the skylight here, but first you need to adjust the spray pattern. So what you want to do is open it up about 2 turns, get a good spray pattern, then back it off a little bit almost to closed, and you'll get a really nice fan pattern. So now that you have your fan pattern, the wind is blowing this way right now, so I want to do this side of the skylight, and then I'll wait till the wind calms down and I'll do the other side. Now, if you have a calm day, you could be going around this very quickly. I've got to go with the wind, wait for the wind to calm down, then I'll go against the wind. So we'll do with the wind first. You want to spray right on the acrylic where it meets the retainer ring. I'll get a close-up shot of that too. All right, so we're spraying the SuperClear onto the acrylic dome to attach it to the retainer ring. I also spray it on the fasteners, the corner joints. There's fasteners, but you want to fill up the area between where your masking tape is and the retainer ring. So if you get a good shot here, it actually goes from the masking tape down into like a bit of a bowl, and then the acrylic dome goes underneath the retainer ring. So you want to fill this area up completely, and then gravity will take the SuperClear underneath the retainer ring, and it, using electrostatic and mechanical adhesion, will adhere the retainer ring to the acrylic dome. So now I've filled up this cavity, if you can see it, across is now flat, almost, with SuperClear. I'll let this harden for about an hour, and then I'll give it another shot. Now, this skylight did leak right after we installed it. It was a twist. Out of all the skylights that are on this house, we had 2 skylights leaking. This was a twist, and the waterproof tape between the retainer ring and the dome shifted and created a leak. So I filled this up with SuperClear. I'll let this harden for about an hour, and then I'll come and give it one more shot so it creates the slope. Instead of having it bow down into the retainer ring, it now has a slope coming off of the dome. The water can go over the SuperClear and over the outside of the skylight. So we'll do a second spray, and then we'll take a look at this skylight, and then we'll take the masking tape off when it hardens, and then you have a waterproof skylight. So we've done a second spray of SuperClear, and now if I can get in close enough, you can see that the indentation here where the acrylic goes down and underneath the retainer ring is now filled with SuperClear. So now the water, or the rainwater, comes here, rolls down over the SuperClear and over the retainer ring, and not inside the building. So we'll let this harden for a little while, take that masking tape off, then we have a waterproof skylight. All right, so I've peeled the masking tape off of the skylight, and you can see, if you look down it, that the SuperClear is now in the indent. Now the water can come down. It can't get under the SuperClear, so it'll roll right off the retainer ring. Now a few things, if you can see here, I got a little bit on the dome. I'll let this harden for a few hours, then I go and get Max Muscle, put it on a rag, come back and wipe these marks off. There's a couple over on the other side here. Now another thing too is when I'm spraying, I'll spray these the retainer ring frame joints here. I spray this so it seeps down in there, makes that waterproof. I also spray the fasteners too, because water can get into anywhere. But there's another kind of pull of the SuperClear here. So I'll let that harden and I'll wipe it off with Max Muscle and a rag. There's also some glue marks from the masking tape, little pieces of masking tape. I'll wipe that off with Max Muscle to clean that skylight. And that's a waterproof skylight. Now a quick tip, I take the masking tape off from the center out, and then before the last layer of SuperClear hardens, I pull the masking tape off, because if that hardens and you're trying to get the masking tape, then you have to get it, if it hardens and it's connected to the masking tape, you need to get a straight razor and cut it off. So just to make it easier and faster, I take the masking tape off before the last layer of SuperClear hardens, and it pulls right out of the SuperClear. Then the SuperClear settles back into the hole if it's connected to the masking tape. And that's how you get these little things that come off. But Max Muscle, right there, takes care of that, cleans the skylight once this hardens totally. And that's how you properly waterproof a skylight. Now this skylight size took SuperClear, it took a bottle of SuperClear. How much did it take? About a quarter of a bottle. Depends on how much it leaks and how much you spray to it. But this size, this is only about 18 inches. It fits between trusses, and 4 feet long around there. I think it's a little under 4 feet. So you could probably do 4 of these type skylights. Now here's a 4x4 skylight, typical 4x4. I would use a whole bottle on this one, but you could probably do 4 of these little ones. All right, so that's how far a bottle of SuperClear goes also. And that's how you properly waterproof a skylight. All right, so we're going to do a tailgate talk to end the video, and I have a couple more tips. So if your skylight is older and you have environmental dust that's gathered around between the retainer ring and the acrylic dome, you have to go buy a pressure washer. You just want a cheap one, $100, $200, around about 1600 PSI, because when you get the higher PSI models, they can easily cut the acrylic as you're trying to wash it clean. You don't want to cut the acrylic, then you're into heavier leakage and you're into buying a new skylight. Cheap pressure washer, and what you want to do is you want to pressure wash underneath the rim. You want to blow that environmental dirt right out from underneath the rim. The reason being is that if you were to just take paper towel and take the environmental dust off, well, underneath the retainer ring, you still have that environmental dust between the acrylic and the retainer ring, and you spray SuperClear into that area. Well, it'll go under, but it won't attach to the acrylic or the top of the retainer ring. It'll attach to the dust that's underneath there, and that won't create a proper waterproof seal that you're trying to achieve. Pressure wash that dirt out so it blows it out, and then let that dry. And then this is tip number 2. When you go to put SuperClear on your first sprays on an older leaky skylight, you want to do light sprays for the first 2 sprays around. So if you spray it lightly, it'll just go underneath the retainer ring a little bit. So what you're trying to achieve is you're trying to achieve the SuperClear building up from the acrylic to then touch the retainer ring, so then you can go on to heavier spraying. If you just start off with heavier spraying, well then it'll just keep leaking in like it does with the rainwater. You want to do very light sprays, because the lighter you spray, the faster it cures. So a light spray that just creeps under, give it 15 minutes, let it cure. Come back, spray another light spray, let it cure. Usually 2 sprays, you've got the gap between the acrylic and the retainer ring closed off now. Then you can put heavier sprays on. Usually I do 1 kind of medium, and then I'll come back for a 4th. This is on a leaky skylight, and I'll do a heavier 4th to create that flat shelf where the acrylic dips down. So when rainwater comes out of the sky, it goes down the acrylic across that dip that's filled in with SuperClear and then over the retainer ring. And that's crucial to getting a skylight totally waterproof. So that's it. That's how you waterproof a skylight properly. Now, please subscribe to the channel because I love driving through North America, listening to my country music and stopping at customers' houses to help them waterproof anything that leaks, from boots to buildings. So if you have a waterproofing issue in anything, send us off an email to info@toughskinproducts.com, include some pictures, and then we'll walk you step by step the products you need to buy and how you need to do to waterproof whatever issue you have. Or if you're a handy person, you want to make more money and you want to waterproof buildings, you can go into the website, send us off an email to info@toughskinproducts.com and join Team ToughSkin, where you can directly buy the materials and then waterproof your customers' buildings. And we walk you through step by step on how to waterproof, and we actually come to visit you to teach you how to do it. So the website is toughskinproducts.com. Go check it out, subscribe to the channel, come around North America with me and waterproof anything. And thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next video.